Yep, I'm recording now.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, I'll just clap my
You
hand.
can clap, yeah.
Nizar Farsakh is co-founder of the online leadership training platform Inspire Leadership School, which teaches people in policy, NGOs, and government how to unlock the power of storytelling to make positive changes in the world. He is also a lecturer at George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs, where he teaches a course on negotiation skills. Originally from Palestine, he grew up in Dubai before returning to advise the Palestinian leadership and then before moving on to Washington, D.C., where he became general director at the Palestinian delegation. Apart from his professional training and consulting work, Nizar often appears in the media, where he comments on Middle Eastern affairs, especially on social movements like the Arab Spring, where he uses his unique understanding of public narrative to make sense of ongoing developments in the region. You can find out more about his training school at inspireleadershipschool.com. You can also connect with him on LinkedIn or subscribe to his YouTube channel, also named Nizar Farsakh. And now I bring you Nizar Farsakh.
We're getting good at this.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. We'll clap and then we'll get into the conversation. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. 3. Are you ready? We'll just.
Yeah. We clap together?
Yeah, we'll clap together. Then I can sync up the audio waves. Okay. 3, 2, 1. I'm here with Nizar Farsakh. Welcome to the Policy People podcast, Nizar.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. You have such an interesting career and you have done so many things, both in DC and abroad. So I'm really excited to dig in to your career and your life and your experiences and share all these wonderful lessons with our listeners. So before I get started, Nizar, I just want to sort of set the stage for our listeners because you have done a number of things, very interesting kinds of roles that you have taken on. You have been a negotiator in practice, not just in theory, involved in the Israel-Palestine negotiations. You also train and you're an educator at the George Washington University, where you teach these negotiation skills. You've also been involved in think tanks, both in DC and elsewhere. And so you know a lot about the insides of think tanks, especially the lobbying end of things and the finance behind think tanks and how all of that works. So you've got a really broad range of experiences and a very interesting background. But what really stands out to me, Nizar, about you is that you really take a different angle when it comes to policy and your thinking, or perhaps I should say feeling, about policy making and the processes of policy. So people in policy are great at using their heads to analyze issues and be researchers, right? That's what researchers do. And of course, the assumption is that uncovering more knowledge is the key to creating more effective policy. And although knowledge does have a huge role to play, of course, where you stand out is that you come at it from a different angle, emphasizing the importance of narrative and even emotions to the policymaking process. So, Nizar, in your view, what is the biggest blind spot for people in policy here? What are we missing that you can really see?
Thank you for that question. It's actually a very important question, and it's a question that I like answering a lot because I think that's a key thing to address in the way policymakers approach policy. I believe that the main blind spot is either not understanding the role of emotion in decision making for all human beings, or a misconception of the role of emotion. And basically, it has to do with the misconception that emotion corrupts reason. That's traditionally, conventionally, that's what we've been taught. And in reality, neurological science has proven that emotion is an essential and critical part of decision making. There is no decision that does not have an emotional content or part element. So our brain has two parts: a part that irrational cognitive part that maps the world the way it is: what is big, what is small, what is white, what is black, what does a dog look like, right? So I see a dog because I recognize that it's a dog because it has four paws and it has a muzzle, what have you. But how do I feel about that dog? What does that mean to me? Am I scared? Do I run away? Or do I love dogs? Do I run towards? That is an emotional register that's different and essential for me to make the decision. I definitely need to recognize it's a dog, but then I need to register, what do I do with that? What does that mean to me, so that I decide what to do? Me personally, when I was young, I was like 4 years old, and I used to love going to the beach with my mom, and I had beautiful memories there. And one day, we were at the beach in Dubai, and a dog chased me. Of course, it wanted to play with me, but I was petrified. And I remember that the dog bit me. My mom swears he never bit you. There's nothing on your butt, man. Like, he didn't bit you. But I was so traumatized. It stuck in my head. So now every time I see a dog, I am scared and I try to run away. My friend Sandy, who's Vietnamese, who was a refugee in Hong Kong, she had, when she was, I think, 6 or 7, she was in a refugee camp, and her neighbor had a litter of dogs, and they gave her one of the puppies. So she had, and he went with her everywhere when she went to get water and what have you. So whenever she sees a dog, she walks towards. So she and I can see a dog. That's the cognitive register, but we have totally different emotional registers, and that's true of all of us. So where policymakers fail is they think they need the best argument. And I can persuade you logically that in order to go from A to B, we need to take these 5 steps. But to make you want to do it, to motivate you to do it, I'm going to need to tell you a narrative that evokes a certain emotion, and an emotion that counters whatever emotion that you're having now that's stopping you and inhibiting you from taking the action, whether you're too scared, right? So I need to tell you a story or a narrative that evokes courage and hope. If you feel apathetic, that I don't care about this, I need to tell you a story that creates urgency for you and makes you see what's important about it, and so on and so forth, right? And that's the part where, again, it's not narrative alone. It's just logic alone is insufficient. You need narrative with it to motivate people to want to do something. And that's the main thing that people miss.
That's fascinating. It almost reminds me of consumer psychology and the process of sales. People talk about customer journeys. It's possible, what you're talking about there is, I mean, if for example, we're talking about voters, inspiring voters to get behind a certain candidate, we could almost talk about a voter journey. What are the milestones that the leader must lead the constituency along, the public along, so that they hit those emotional registers, hit those points, and really inspire action and inspire support, right? So, Nizar, I guess what I'm curious about is that only relevant to the public face of policy, for example, politicians, leaders, or is it also relevant to people in think tanks and people who are engaged in, I guess, sort of the brainstorming and the creation of policy ideas before they actually hit, the marketing end of things, or where parties eventually adopt those policies and start to make them their own?
No, it's for anyone who's trying to get something done, right?
Sure.
It's even at an individual level. When I speak with my wife or my daughter, uh, I'm thinking in stories in order to address the emotional content of the decision, right? So,
Mhm.
it's interesting that you brought the issue of marketing, because marketers and the business community were the first to realize that people don't buy what's good, people buy whatever makes them feel good, right?
Mm.
When you survey Americans, they say Dunkin' Donuts coffee is better than Starbucks, but people still go to Starbucks because Starbucks is not selling the coffee; it's selling the experience.
Mm.
It's fun. It's nice to go to Starbucks.
Mm.
McDonald's, there's the kids section, and it's fun, right? So they're selling the experience. They're not actually selling the thing.
Yes.
And likewise, we want to take that into politics. When you look at the way Hillary Clinton campaigned and the way Trump campaigned as candidates, it doesn't make sense how a blue collar American, and I saw it myself, like I saw the interview with this blue collar American in Ohio, and he came out of a Trump rally, and he was saying, Trump gets us, he understands us, he knows what it's like, and Hillary doesn't. And of course, logically speaking, that's actually impossible. Trump never had a day of want in his life. Hillary actually came from a blue collar family, right? So logically, what he said does not make sense. But that was his experience, because the way Trump spoke, he spoke to the pain, and he spoke to the emotion that these people were feeling, which is a sense of being had, of Washington being a set of corrupt people, and that we've been working hard and we've been treated unfairly. Now, ironically, and it's funny how people didn't capture that, Trump does genuinely feel with them, because he feels, this multi-billionaire who, has this brand is not really accepted by the elites. And when Obama made fun of him, right, that really ticked him. So when Trump was speaking about the unfairness and those damn elites, he actually meant it. He was authentic. While when Hillary was just talking policy, it landed flat. People didn't believe her. And tragically, one of the things that are like, I think Hillary is I have a lot of issues with her policies also. But one of the tragic, I think she's a tragic character in the sense that I can't see how a woman in our world can get where she got for so long without having such thick skin, right? Which means she's not really showing up. And had she showed up, she would have been punished, because women that show emotion are weak and so on and so forth, right? So she is the way she is because she needed to get to this point. Now, the moment where you see her actually show up is in the third debate, where Trump is talking about Roe versus Wade and abortion, right? And this is where she stops the politicking and she says, no, we will never reverse Roe versus Wade. Because here,